Today we will be checking out ways to keep track of your pedal settings and how to set your pedals to your favorite settings faster and how to keep those settings. Now, if you're watching this video, you're probably tired of doing guesswork on your pedal board during sound check because all the knobs are bumped around and change their positions during transport, which is the main reason I went through a couple of different ways to solve this problem. The easiest way is simply write it down. Write down the name of the pedal and list names of the knobs and switches below and write down their values and position. For knob positions, I stick to the same way I tell time. Now, 0 fully closed or minimum, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and maximum or fully open. To get you started, I made a sample chart to keep settings for your pedals with 3 to 5 knobs and a switch or two. To give you an example of how to fill one out, here's one of my favorite settings for my Sir Shiba drive. Now, on a side note, I keep different settings to use with different gear. Single coils and humbuckers usually require different EQs and levels. I also tweak the settings somewhat differently whether I'm playing a 6v6 or an EL84 tube amp. If you don't like writing stuff down and want to keep it visual, take a picture. Take a photo of your pedal with your phone, write a short description of the tone on the pick like super crunch or rotary swirl, and you're good to go. If you have favorite settings for your entire pedal board, take a picture of the entire board and simply set it up according to the photo before a gig, session, or band practice. Now, there are also ways you can keep track of your settings on the pedals themselves. You can use permanent markers or markers that write on CDs to mark your settings. If you have several different settings, use different colors. You can also easily mark your settings in ranges. Mark the minimum and maximum points between which that function sounds best to you. When you're using markers, make sure you also have a way to safely remove markings to ensure a clean look of the pedal afterwards. As a precaution, test the marker on the bottom of the pedal if it has the same finish as on the top, or a less visible part of the pedal, like underneath the knobs, and then remove it. To remove permanent markers, there are several methods, like using rubbing alcohol, nail remover, WD-40, toothpaste, or even hairspray. Now, please be sure to check if your pedal has a sensitive finish that might react with any of these by testing it first. My favorite way of marking settings on the pedals is somewhat ridiculous, but it's even easier to set up your pedals faster if you use it. That's stick-on gems. You can get these in any do-it-yourself store. They're easy to apply and easy to remove. Once you get on stage, turn on the flashlight on your phone and the settings light up, making it really easy to see which way you should turn the knob. The only downside is that sometimes they fall off, so don't rely on these unless you use a stronger type of glue, which might leave permanent residue on your pedals. So again, choose the types of adhesives you work with carefully. I use stick-on gems mostly on my amp knobs. Now, the final way of keeping your settings is locking your knobs. There are certain brands of pedal makers that have come up with a neat solution like the Digitech Stomp Lock, but we'll take a look at a few do-it-yourself ways to get there. A very simple and fast solution is using adhesive tape, whether it's Scotch tape or gaffer tape. It'll keep your knobs at a fixed position. The downside to Scotch tape is that it tears easily. The downside to gaffer tape is that you can't really see how your knobs are set. And both might leave glue residue, so keep that in mind. My favorite solution is using rubber pipe seals or O-rings. Now, it's an excellent invisible way to prevent your knobs from turning involuntarily. First, make sure to know which type of knob is on your pedal. You don't want to try pulling off a knob if it's held onto the pot by a grub screw. If there's a screw holding the knob, loosen that. If there's no screw, try removing the push-on knob by using a piece of string or a thin blunt object such as a pick, inserting it from either side of the knob and lifting. If there's enough clearance, I've also used a teaspoon, but make sure it will not leave marks on the pedal or the knob, or pat it with a tissue to prevent that. Now, the rubber seal will restrict the movement to a point where accidental bumps will not change the position of the knob, but if you apply enough force with your hand directly, you will turn it, in case you still need to adjust your settings on the fly. Now, one more method I've used are rubber feet. Pedal manufacturers sometimes supply pedals with additional rubber feet, and I remove those when I'm applying Velcro to the bottom. Now I took those remaining feet, I cut them into smaller pieces and put them between the pedal and the knob. And one side of the feet has adhesive on it. I stick that side to the pedal, the other rubber side applies friction to the knob to keep it from moving. But the O-ring solution proved more effective as the rubber feet kept wearing out or falling off as I was making adjustments to the knob. So these are a couple of ways to keep track of your pedal settings. If you have any other do-it-yourself solutions, please share them in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe. Next, we'll be checking out 5 interesting chord progressions you can bust out at a jam session, so stay tuned.